How's it going here? And we're gonna keep this iPhone 13 camera comparison train rolling. I've already compared it up against the iPhone 13 Pro and Samsung Galaxy S21 Snapdragon version. And obviously today I've got it up against the Google Pixel 5a. And so despite the pretty big gap in price here with the Pixel 5a coming in several $100s less than the iPhone 13, I still think this will be a very close competition. They both have dual rear camera systems with 12 megapixel main shooters. The Pixel 5a has a 16 megapixel ultra wide, while the iPhone 13 has a 12 megapixel ultra wide. And yes, Apple slightly improved the camera hardware, but this will really come down to software processing. Apple has its new image signal processor and software algorithms with Smart HDR4. So we're going to see how that compares up against the well-known Google Pixel's computational photography. So like I was doing, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems might be best for you. So let's go ahead and check out all the photos and videos and let me know what you think. Everyone, so it's another day, another video test with the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a. As you can see there, they're both recording from the rear-facing cameras right now. And this is with the ultra-wide-angle lens to start at 4K 30 frames per second. So as we pan around here, you'll notice that the iPhone has a wider field of view than the Pixel right now. And at least in the viewfinder, the blues and greens are a little bit more exaggerated on the iPhone, but that could change once the video is processed. So let me know what you see here. I'll just pan down to see how it handles the exposure of the sky, because sometimes when you pan down, you can see there, the sky start to get kind of blow out on the Pixel. Maintains the color and balance on the iPhone. One more time. And there it goes, and one more time back up and re-exposes on the Pixel. So let's go ahead and pan around, and we'll move into the main lens here on each. So on the iPhone 13 and then on the Pixel 5a. And we'll pan around with this lens, give you a feel for what that looks like here. And same thing with exposure in the sky on the Pixel. Kind of gets blown out as you pan down and re-exposes when you come up. That's kind of normal, but it's nice that the iPhone keeps the balance. And we'll pan around this way and point up into that bright afternoon sunlight to see how it kind of handles that, see if you kind of see any lens flaring going on. And we'll pan over here to the right and we'll test zoom there on the cell tower, and not much of a zoom on the iPhone. You have 3 times digital zoom at 4K, and then we can match that with a 3 times digital on the Pixel 5a here. And the Pixel can move all the way up into a 5 times digital zoom at 4K. So let's go ahead and back out the zoom on the iPhone and back out on the Pixel, and let's test autofocus here on the post first with the iPhone. And pretty snappy autofocus as you'd expect with the iPhone, as well as refocus away. One more time, and last one. Also pretty good shallow depth of field, bokeh, whatever you want to call it, on the iPhone. And let's go with the Pixel 5a now. Really fast autofocus there as well. And refocus away, and one more time. So definitely fast autofocus on both here. Pretty good shallow depth of field, or blurred out background naturally there on both of these 12 megapixel sensors. And let's go ahead and walk down the stairs so we can test stabilization here at 4K as we walk through the path. And we'll go ahead and jog down this path to really stress it out. And we'll pull up right here and pan up and see how the exposure handles into the changing light here. Everyone, so this will be a front-facing video test with the iPhone 13 and the Pixel 5a, as you can see right there. And these are both recording from the front-facing cameras right now. And the iPhone is recording at 4K 30 frames per second, while the Pixel is shooting at 1080p 30 frames per second. These are the max resolutions on each. And so I'm starting in my usual testing spot outdoors here in the park in some shade, like I like to do, because it's an even light. It'll produce the best possible footage in this type of lighting for these front-facing cameras without any kind of harsh light on them right now. And you can see what I mean as I start walking to this way. You see the light come in from behind me, and now I'm standing in a little bit of a harsher lighting condition. You can see the cast off from the left and what that does here. And even more so when I actually pivot around, and you can start to see what the video quality looks like with the changing light. Now that the light's in back of me, it's all backlit right now. And you can see what this does right here. So typically, like any other smartphone, or most cameras actually will blow out the background because it's trying to focus on the subject. And that's happening definitely with the Pixel, but you can see with the iPhone, it's actually trying to balance out the video here, so it's not completely fully blown out in the background. And that's kind of nice. So they're probably doing some processing to do that. I know Apple is now starting to do that once they weren't before, and so is Samsung. So I think Google can improve a little bit here as well, but it is good that it does keep the subject in focus, which is myself, obviously. And we'll just start walking to test stabilization as well, so you can see what that looks like here from each of these front-facing cameras as we walk to the pathway. And I'll jog a little bit just so we can stress out the stabilization a bit here. And so there you go. There's some front-facing video from the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a. So here's some low light video from the rear facing camera on the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a. This is the ultra wide angle lens on each. This is at 4K 30 frames per second. And as you can see, the iPhone has the wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame with this ultra wide angle camera, but it is also a bit darker than the Pixel, at least from what I'm seeing in the viewfinder right now. So let's go ahead and pan into the main lens right now. So iPhone 13 and let's go Pixel 5a right there. So let's go ahead and pan around with this particular lens so you can see what this looks like. I'll point up at that really bright street light, and they're flaring that out just a bit. Maybe the Pixel just a tad bit more, but pretty bright street light. Most phones will going to flare that out. So let's go ahead and pan over this way and let's start walking. It's that stabilization. And usually in low light, you're going to see more jitters. And also we'll be moving over to a much darker area. Obviously that was an area with a lot of light and a fairly ideal light condition actually. We'll walk over here to a much darker areas around the corner to see how it handles this type of light or absence of light. And as far as what I can see in the viewfinder, both phones are brightening up the scene a little bit more than what I'm seeing with my own eyes. The Pixel, I think, is doing it just a bit more from what I can see. Let's stop here and pan up into the night sky so you can see what that looks like against a darker background. And you can see it's introducing some noise, a little bit more on the Pixel, some graininess because it's trying to brighten things up. And as I pan over here to the left, you can see what it looks like here. And a little bit of a mixed lighting situation. There's primarily dark down this alleyway with some accent lights, so you can see what it looks like here with this particular kind of lighting here in 4K. So let me know what you think of the video quality here between the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a 4K and some low light. So here's some low light video from the front facing cameras on the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a. This is at 1080p, 30 frames per second. The iPhone can shoot up to 4K, but I'm keeping the resolution the same because that is the max resolution on the Pixel 5a. Also because if I shot in 4K, the video is going to look a little bit darker on the iPhone, and so I just thought I'd keep everything the same here. By nature, 4K video just always is darker, especially in low light than 1080p. And so as you can see here, I'm starting out in some pretty good lighting conditions here. Lots of lights around me to the left, to the right, and even to the back of me, as you can see right there. And so I want to start here so that you can see what these phones can do in some optimal low light conditions here. And right off the bat, you'll notice the color temperature differences. The iPhone is a lot warmer than the Pixel, which is much more on the cooler side. And I think the true to life colors, if you want to know, is somewhere in between, but actually skewed a little bit more to what the Pixel is showing, at least what I can see in the viewfinder. It's not nearly as warm as what the iPhone is showing, not quite as cool as the Pixel, but if I had to pick one, Pixel is maybe a little bit closer to what I'm seeing here with my own eyes. And so let's go ahead and start walking to test stabilization. And so you can see what that looks like here from each of the front facing cameras. And we'll also walk over to a more difficult lighting situation, much darker area, so you can see how these front facing cameras handle that. I'm also passing by a water fountain to the right of me, so we can test out the microphones again to sound of that background noise there. And we'll pull up here and I'll pan around so you can see some really bright street lights behind me. There you go, and see how these front facing cameras are handling that, and actually pretty good. The Pixel may be flaring out a tad bit, but both are handling it pretty well. The iPhone is looking much darker than the Pixel, at least what I'm seeing in the viewfinder here. And let's go ahead and walk back over to this darker area so you can see what these phones look like here in this lighting situation side by side. And from what I can see, the Pixel is a little bit brighter than the iPhone right now, which is still a tad bit on the warmer side. And so do let me know what you thought about all the photos and videos from the iPhone 13 and Pixel 5a. How you think the Pixel did for a quote-unquote mid-level device and a lot less expensive. I know phones aren't just all about cameras, but I would expect a little bit more from the iPhone, I think, at this price point. Marginal improvements in low light from the iPhone 13 from what I can see. And I still prefer the Pixel for photos. I like the details, the colors, and even the portrait mode better on the Pixel. iPhone may still have it beat for video, but I don't think Pixel video looks all that bad personally to me. So those are just my quick thoughts about this comparison and how these phones did. I thought the Pixel did very well for what it's providing you, great value for the money. But if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll try to answer what I can. And also definitely leave a comment with which one you thought you liked and which one you preferred and why. So with that being said, thanks for watching.